Namaste. So this morning I'm going to read Book 5, Chapter 6 on the Deva-Danava fight in the Maha Devi Bhagavatam. Om Vakratu Namakaya Suryakoti Samamani. Om. Hari Om Tat Sat. Vyasa said, O king, on the day Tamra becoming unconscious, Mahesa became very angry and raising his gada club came up before the Devas and said, Devas, O ye powerless like crows, wait, with one stroke of gada I will kill you. Thus saying, the powerful Mahesa swelled with pride, seeing Indra before him mounted on his elephant, instantly struck him on his arms. Indra again lost no time and struck violently with his thunderbolt and cut the Danava's gada into pieces and came up very close, wanting to strike at him. Mahesa too, becoming very angry, took up his lustrous sword and came to Indra to attack him with this weapon. A fight then occurred between the two, terrible to all the lokas and wonderful to the munis, where various weapons were showered from both the sides. The demon Mahesa spread then his Samvari Maya, destructive to all the worlds and fascinating to the munis. Hundreds and hundreds of powerful buffalo-like appearances resembling Mahesa became then visible on the battlefield. They all began to kill the Deva forces with weapons in their hands. Seeing this magic of the Danava, Indra became thunderstruck and very much confounded with terror. Varuna, Kuvera, the lord of wealth, Yama, fire, moon, sun, and other devas all fled with terror. Indra then, being surrounded by the network of magic, began to call Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesa in his mind. At the instant when they were all called in mind, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesa, riding on respective conveyances, Swan, Garuda, and Bull, came up there with best weapons in their hands for Indra's protection. Vishnu, seeing the play of that fascinating magic, hurled his bright discus, Sudarshan, and caused the magic to vanish at once. Seeing the tree, the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer, the Danava Mahesa, came up there with his Pariga, a club tipped with iron, weapon, desirous to fight with them. Then the general Chiksura, Ugrasya, Ugravirya, Asiloma, Trinitra, Vaskala, Andaka, and other warriors came up to fight. Those proud Danavas, clad in armor and mounted on chariots with bows in their hands, besieged the Devas like a tiger attacking a heifer. Then those Danavas, swelled with pride, began to shower on arrows after arrows. The Devas too began to do the same. Desiring to extirpate them, the general Andaka, coming up to Hari, drew his bow with great force up to his ear and shot at him 5 sharp arrows tipped with poison. Vasudeva, the destroyer of the enemies, cut off those arrows no sooner. They came up before him, and he shot at the Danavas 5 arrows. Then Hari and the Danavas struck each other with various weapons and arrows, swords, discus, musala, clubs, shakti, and parasu. Here, on the other hand, the fight lasted for 50 days between Mahesa versus Andaka, and it was a very close conflict causing horripilation. Thus, severe fights ensued between Vaskala and Indra, Mahesa and Rudra, Trinitra and Yama, Maha, Hanu and Kuvera, Asiloma and Varuna. The Danava Mahesa struck Garuda, the conveyance of Hari, with his club. Garuda, being very much distressed with the blow, sat down gasping. Vishnu then comforted the powerful Garuda, the son of Vinata, and made him calm and quiet. Wanting to kill Andaka, Janardana became infuriated and drawing his bow made of horn, called Saranga, shot at him arrows after arrows. The Danava cut off all those arrows to pieces with his own mass of arrows. Then, becoming very angry, he shot 50 sharp arrows at Hari. Vasudeva quickly made all those arrows useless and hurled Sudarshana Chakra with 1,000 spokes on the Danava with great violence. Andaka thwarted this with his own discus and shouted aloud with such a great force that all the Devas became confused and confounded. Vishnu's Chakra being baffled, the Devas became distressed with grief and the Danavas got elated. Seeing the Devas thus grieved, Vishnu held aloft his Komodaki Gada club and came hurriedly before the Danava. Hari struck then with his Gada on the Danava's head, whereon he fell senseless on the ground. The hot-tempered Mahesa, seeing Andaka senseless, bellowed aloud and terrifying Hari came up there. Seeing him there, Vasudeva made such a thundering noise with his bowstring that the Devas became highly glad. Then the Bhagavan shot showers of arrows on Mahesa, and Mahesa too cut those arrows while they were seen in the air. O king, then a very close fight ensued between the two. Kesava struck on the head of the Danava with his club. Thus struck, he fell in a swoon on the ground, and a general cry of distress arose amongst the Danavas. In a moment, the Danava got up again, free from trouble. He then struck again on Vishnu's head with his Parigra, a club mounted with iron, a mace. Struck by that mace, Janardan lay senseless. Garuda, seeing him thus unconscious, immediately took him away from the battlefield. When Vishnu thus fled, Indra and the Devas were much distressed with fear and began to cry aloud. Hearing the Devas cry, Shankara became wrathful and quickly coming before Mahesa, struck him with his trident, Sula. The wicked Mahesa made his weapon ineffectual and bellowed aloud and struck on the breast of Shankara with his Shakti, a kind of missile. Thus wounded in his breast, Shankara did not feel any pain, rather with his eyes red with anger, he struck him again with Trishula. Seeing Sankara engage with Mahesa, Hari, becoming conscious, came again on the battlefield. Seeing the two powerful Deva chiefs, Hari and Hara, in the battlefield, Mahesa became very much angry. He then assumed a buffalo body and, wagging his tail to and fro, came in front of them with a desire to fight. The terrible Mahesa, of a huge body, shook his horns and bellowed so deep like a thundercloud that even the Devas got frightened. He began to hurl the huge mountain peaks with his two horns. The two powerful Devas, Hari and Hari, began to shoot at the Danava deadly arrows after arrows. Seeing these two gods shower arrows upon him, Mahesa began to hurl mountains on them by his tail. Vishnu cut off those mountains into hundreds pieces by his arrow and struck at him instantly with his chakra. Struck thus by Chakra, the lord of the Danavas fainted, but he instantly rose up with a human body, the mountain-like, a club in his hand, frightened the Devas and uttered grave sounds like those of a rumbling rain clouds. Hearing that, the Bhagavan Vishnu sounded a more terrible sound with his Panchajanya Sanka, conch shell. Hearing the sound of that conch shell, the Danavas were struck with terror, and the ascetic rishis and devas became exalted with joy. Here ends the 6th chapter of the 5th skanda on the Deva-Danava fight in Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, the Mahapuranam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Vyasa. On Jayanti Mangala Kali, Bhadra Kali Kapalin, Durga Kshma Shivtati Swaswana, Slomchitu Devi Chamji. Om Mangala Mahakali Shivi Sapatas, Shanyatra Vike Gauri. Om Tirumata Chapitata.